Hello, Void. How are you all today? Well, back into the Universal area and continuing to work my way through my werewolf collection and hit upon a bit of an interesting one. She-Wolf of London. Apparently, London gets more werewolves per capita than most other places. But this one's well, definitely meshes a bit differently than the other films on this collection. Despite the title, it's not actually doesn't really have anything to do with Werewolf of London, and it's not simply a gender-swapped wolf man either. It's an entirely different sort of animal. Pun sort of intended. Anyway, this one it's kind of hard to discuss without getting into spoilery territory, and while some of the twists are pretty easy to pick out, I'm going to try to avoid that as best I can. Let's see. So, 1946, and doesn't tie into any of the other films on the collection. Now, it starts off pretty simply. Well, there's some murders been going on in a local park. And one of the survivors said it was, well, a wolf-like, then a wolf-like woman. And, well, so people are talking werewolf. So right off the bat, people are suspecting werewolves, particularly one of the members of Scotland Yard. Now, one of the primary inspectors is immediately saying that's ridiculous because werewolves don't exist. But, well, he's then, the other guy at Scotland Yard, he's convinced. Well, elsewhere, and more centralized to the plot, is Phyllis Allenby and her fiancé are, well, getting ready for their wedding next week. However, Phyllis is starting to act a little strangely. Now, the Allenbys are supposed to be under a curse, and she's the last surviving member of the Allenby family, except for her aunt, and a cousin who aren't actually her aunt and cousin. They have kind of a complicated family situation. Anyway, so she's the last of the Allenbys and is sure that the curse is going to be upon her, particularly with this spate of murders, as the Allenby curse is supposed to turn the victim of it into, well, a ravening monster. And whenever she goes to sleep at night, well, there's more trouble in the park, and she's noticing mud on her shoes, blood on her hands, and, well, some obvious mud and stains on a lot of her bedclothes. And she's becoming increasingly sure that she might be the werewolf. Her fiancé is trying to encourage her that that's ridiculous, but what's actually going on gets a bit complicated. As her cousin continues to sneak out to the park to meet a lover that her aunt does not wish her to see, her aunt continues to try to insist that will be okay, just needs to take some time off, and it simply isn't feeling well, and tries to shoo away the fiancé for obviously upsetting her, and it pretty much gets to a tangle of social dynamics there. So, more of a Hitchcock-style mystery than an outright horror film, is most of the attacks of the werewolf are, well, if there even is a werewolf, are done mostly off camera. You mostly see a woman who you can't tell who it is prowling around, and particularly attacking people while snarling. But again, who's the actual werewolf is, well, still up for debate. Phyllis is certain it's her, but other people are trying to convince her that it obviously can't be. As she gets slowly more and more panicked and is on the verge of a mental breakdown. Now, I actually really did like this one. It was surprisingly well put together, and even though I could tell where some of the twists were going to be, seeing how it exactly played out was good, and the actor playing Phyllis Allenby, let me see here, June Lockhart was, well, definitely a standout as portraying her descent into, well, utter insanity. Especially once the reveals come out and her just trying to make it through. So I found this one actually very enjoyable, and as with most movies that are actually pretty good, it makes it hard to talk about because either you ruin the spoilers, or there's just not as much things to nitpick about. This one I really didn't have many problems with. The pacing actually was good, and it's only about an hour long, so it's not a very long sit at all. Uh, if anything, it sort of gives kind of a reveal very quick off just to help get the situation going that I think should have been saved for closer to the end with the reveal of Phyllis's cousin Carol and her aunt not actually being related to her. Probably should have come a little bit later in the film, since that kind of helped cast some suspicions around much earlier than was necessary. But other than that little nitpick, I definitely recommend this one. It's not your typical werewolf film, and I think that's a good thing. You know, well, it definitely adds a bit of variety, though it does fall into kind of a trap that a lot of early horror films did, particularly in the ghost genre. I've seen a lot of the of ghost movies from the 30s to 50s, and I'm pretty sure there's not many ghosts actually in any of them. But I'll touch on those more when I actually start breaking out some more of my big box collections and slog back through some of the really old films. But this one, for MacGuffins, very solid. I do recommend it if you got an hour to kill. So check it out.